The Broncos have stolen from the Chiefs, adding one of their Pro Bowl pass rushers, Frank Clark, coming to town. Henry, what a day. And we're going to break it all down on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Welcome in. So glad that you all are joining us today. We just finished watching 3 hours of Broncos practice, talking to Sean Payton, talking to Garrett Bolles, talking to Josie Jewell, talking to Cortland Sutton. And then on top of that, the Broncos have signed Frank Clark to a pretty significant deal. We found out that Baron Browning, unfortunately, has suffered a significant injury. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. And then also, Dalvin Cook may be on his way to Denver. What a day. Thank you, Broncos, for giving us June 8th, a big news day. And let's just start with Frank Clark being a Denver Bronco. Henry, what's your first... Well, actually, I know your initial reaction to it because I told you.
Yeah, you do know. They needed a pass rusher.
No. That was not your initial reaction.
What was the first?
No. That was not your reaction.
Oh, didn't he get in trouble?
No.
Was that my first one?
You don't know your initial reaction?
Well,
this happened like 47 minutes ago. You were sitting on it here. This is the honest.
I gotta put myself in the mindset.
We're at the Broncos. We are recording some videos, and you were sitting on a bench, and I looked to you and I say, the Broncos just signed Frank Clark. And you jumped off the bench.
Oh, that sounds
said a couple of curse words. I think there were some punches thrown in like a hyped up way. And then, I guess, what were your reactions inside of your head after that?
They needed a pass rusher. I might have chosen a different one. And also,
that's true.
You know, he's not winning any Nobel Peace Prizes.
Well, that's very true. Yep. And that is part. There is Frank Clark, the football player, which we're going to talk about. And there's also Frank Clark, the player. The person.
Yep.
And that is something that has been part of his story, I mean, going back to college, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, I think the first one, 2012, arrested while he was at Michigan for felony home invasion charges. Apparently, he must have gotten off for something, or would have said he was convicted, and he probably would have gotten kicked off the team. He did get kicked off the team in his senior season. Domestic violence. I believe it was his girlfriend. Serious stuff. Serious stuff. And then most recently, 2021, gun charges. Police pulled him over for a vehicle violation, probably something like his windows too tinted, something like that. And they see that he has an Uzi in a bag in the back of his car. And then when that's happening, there was the reporters found out that there were actually some other gun charges from a couple months before. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff that go on, and that's kind of honestly a starting point of the conversation when it comes to Frank Clark. There's everybody's gonna have their opinion. Everybody can say, that you don't touch somebody who has a background like that. He blew his chance. He doesn't deserve to be playing in the NFL, to be making millions of dollars. They shouldn't bring him into the locker room. He's a bad influence on the community. Nobody can say, nope, that's the wrong take. And there's others who 100%. Say you deserve a second chance, and or
third, fourth,
exactly, and that's where you kind of get up there, and that's what if it was just the stuff from college, again, horrible things. Maybe you could say he's probably grown. It's been 10 years. Still the gun charges, and again, he owns a gun. There's plenty of people who say, hey, you should be allowed to have a gun.
Right.
You're not though, and he did break the law. So complicated background, and that is. That's a big piece of the Frank Clark.
No, and I'm really happy you laid it out really well, Henry. But that's something that you can't talk about Frank Clark without bringing the off the field stuff up. Not only because that's who he has been, but also you kind of wonder, like, is this going to impact him being on the new team he signs? But you're right. Organizations, whether it's in sports, whether it's in other organizations, have to make that decision. Are they going to bring people in with some questionable decisions that they've made in the past, or very questionable decisions, some bad things that they've done in the past? Typically in sports, unfortunately, if you're talented enough, it doesn't really matter. And Frank Clark is very talented.
He is
very talented. A second-round pick, despite being kicked off his college football team.
Crazy.
So you talk about probably a first-round talent. And then what does he do his first 4 years in the league? He goes and just dominates with the Seattle Seahawks. 2 multi-sack seasons. I believe he had a 10-sack season, a 13-sack season.
Double-digit sack.
What'd I say?
Multi-sack. A lot of multi-sack seasons.
Every season a multi-sack season?
I think probably, yeah.
I would think so as well. But yeah, double-digit sack seasons, 2 of those with Seattle. Then he goes and gets paid by the Chiefs. In the past 4 years, he's been with Kansas City. 3 Pro Bowls. He has not had a double-digit sack season. He has had 4 multi-sack seasons, though.
Pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do better
He's
than that
racked
in
up
4
multiple
seasons.
sacks every single season. And in the past 4 seasons with the Chiefs, he's won 2 Super Bowls. He's been a massive part of not just their defense, but their playoff defense. Henry, I believe he has the 13th or the 3rd most career postseason sacks. He has the most sacks for an active player in the postseason right now, over Von Miller,
Yeah, crazy.
I believe. And he's a guy that in the past 4 years, 3 Pro Bowls, he's averaged 6 sacks per season, 8 tackles for a loss, and 15 quarterback hits. Despite going into his 9th year in the NFL, he's still very productive.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, there's also a reason why he's still on the market. You know, you talked about the multi-sack seasons, a lot of those, the double-digit sacks, it's been a while. Crazy that he's still, I think the last year he made the Pro Bowl, he had 4.5 sacks.
Yeah.
You would think it would take more than that to get to the Pro Bowl, but it
Definitely.
didn't. That 4.5 number is, there's a good chance that if DraftKings puts a lineup, they're going to put it at 4.5 and 5.5. And that's something that Baron Browning gave you last year with 5 sacks. And so is this really the big upgrade?
Yeah.
So there was also a lot of buzz last year about, Frank Clark is playing some of the best football of his career. And the sack numbers might not have backed that up. The pass rush win percentage, 8.6% last year from Pro Football Focus.
Put that in context for me.
I've got the Chiefs pulled up. Chris Jones, 16.8.
Okay.
About twice as often he wins. Melvin Ingram, 12.7%. A little smaller sample size, similar though. Same as Mike Dana. Not really any other big names. I'll pull up the Broncos and we'll get back to this in a second because that's an easier comparison. So there are a couple of those peripheral stats where you say 4.5 is probably a little low. It was 5 last year. Maybe you would expect that to be more like 6. But again, that's not massive sack numbers. And you look at some of the other guys on the market. Justin Houston, still out there. 34 years old, which is a big number, but he also had, 12 sacks last year?
Right.
So that guy's out there, and he might just be waiting for a contender because he's so old. I think Yannick Ngakwe's still out there. We talk about him a lot. He's a lock for 9 sacks a year. Again, we haven't had a 9-sack year from Frank Clark since 2018. That's a long time ago. But again, he wants a multi-year deal. He wants to play for a good team. So of all the edge rushers out there, Frank Clark wouldn't have been top of my list, maybe not even top 3 on my list, but it is a veteran you add to the room. He's still only 29, so there's some upside, and they need that.
And you talk about how the other guys that you mentioned probably would have been more productive. They have that history, especially recent history, to show that, and that's important. But like you also said, they probably wanted multi-year deals. You get Frank Clark, 1 year, $7.5 million. 5.5 of those are guaranteed, so then an additional $2 million in incentives. And 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the going rate for pass rushers and productivity was $1 million per sack. Now it's gone up to almost like $2 million a sack. So if Frank Clark does what he did the past 4 years, if he gets 6 sacks for the Broncos, even if he gets 5 or 4.5 like he did the past 2 years, then that's going to be a winning deal for the Broncos because at only $7.5 million, you imagine that if he gets those sacks, he's going to hit $7.5 million and get that full deal. That's a good deal for the Broncos. And so maybe they didn't get the top of the market player, but I do think that they got a pretty good deal with Frank Clark. And also Frank Clark sitting here on June 8th to get $5.5 million guaranteed. Pretty good deal for him. I would be happy. I think this is a win-win in terms of the contract for both sides here. And another thing, how we have to look at this, Henry, is the news of Baron Browning. Right after the Broncos signed Frank Clark, Mike Kliss reported that Baron Browning has been missing OTAs. He's missed all 3 practices that we've been able to see. I can't imagine he's been at the other ones and just missing the practices that the Broncos are, that the media is saying. So I'm sure Baron Browning has missed of all of OTAs because he had surgery, arthroscopic surgery, to repair a partially torn meniscus, and this scares the shit out of me. And Baron Browning, honestly, the opposite of Frank Clark, you know exactly what you're getting from Frank Clark. You should get 5 to
handful
6
of
sacks
Yep.
this season. You know that the money's going to be right for that. Should be a good deal. But he is what he is right now. It's unrealistic to expect a 10 or 13 sack season because he had those, 6 and 8 years ago to this point. So you know what Frank Clark is. On the other side, Baron Browning, he had 5 sacks last year, and that's like a very tempting 5 sacks. You're like, oh my gosh, what can he do when he's an outside linebacker for a second straight offseason, for a second straight year under Vance Joseph with Randy Gregory's actually healthy? Could he explode for 10 sacks? So right now, Baron Browning and Frank Clark are the same production of player, but one of them, you know exactly what you're going to get. The other one, I think the upside and the potential is just off the charts. That's why probably in the end, this is a net negative, but there's a chance that Baron Browning is back. Mike said that that there's optimism that Baron Browning's back somewhere in training camp. Off-season surgeries and injuries scare me. I am not going to put that expectation on him. I'm not even going to count on him for week 1 of the season, and that's why it's such a blow.
Yeah. No, it's scary, and you know, there's a lot of things that go into being an outside linebacker. You know, it's easy to look at the 5 sacks last year and say, hey, you know what? He's kind of still a lottery ticket. You're still hoping he pops, but you also expected more pass rush production from him last year. So I think it's easy to say, you know, maybe you drop down to Jonathan Cooper, but how big of a drop off is that really? You know, you have Frank Clark replacing him. The thing about Baron Browning though is that he is so versatile at that position. You know, when you get into that base defense, the fact that he's really good setting the edge, he's great for the position, dropping back into coverage. In a base 3-4 defense, he's awesome. He's still working out, figuring out how to be like the awesome, just pure edge rusher. As a 3-4 outside linebacker, that was supposed to be a really big piece. And, you know, I guess maybe really big isn't fair because you have Surtain, you have Simmons, you have, you know, maybe you're hoping for a Caden Stearns type production from him. So hopefully he's back. It'd be really nice if he's back. And if he is back, I think it's easy to like what they have in that room. You know, Randy Gregory still being kind of a question mark. But you have Baron Browning, who's solidified. You have Frank Clark, who can come in and be that pass rushing presence. They have Jonathan Cooper can plug holes. Nick Bonitto. Without him, you're kind of back to where you started before you signed Frank Clark. And you're saying like, maybe if they just had a little bit more juice, this could go a lot better.
Is Frank Clark the starter week 1?
I mean, that just depends on. So it's the Raiders, and the Raiders have Josh. I think the Raiders come out in the 3-4, and I think Baron Browning's out there.
Okay, is not the actual legitimate first person out there? Is he one of the 2 dudes at outside linebacker week 1?
I think there's going to be 3. Like, they're going to have that rotation. It's just going to depend on the situation.
It's got to be 2, Henry.
It doesn't, though. It doesn't.
2. Yes, there's 2 starting outside linebackers.
But it'll depend on what the situation is. I think that when you look at it, the snaps, I think Baron Browning winds up with more snaps than Frank Clark. I'll say that. But I'm not confident in that. And Randy's there in the 3-4. He's there in the nickel and dime and whatever else. It's just how they rotate on the other side. Because again, that base, I really think it's Baron Browning. Sub packages, it's probably Frank Clark. And who knows? Maybe Nick Bonitto even gets in that rotation in the sub packages as well.
Don't forget Jonathan Cooper.
Yeah, he's
We just watched Broncos practice today.
We sure did.
We can't say much, but don't forget Jonathan Cooper.
He's
number 0, Agent 0.
Yeah, there was a stretch in the team period where he was really showing up a lot. There's a thing we can say.
Maybe. That might be too much.
I hope
No,
not.
I think that's good info. I'll answer my own question. Yes, Frank Clark is a starter for the Denver Broncos. Not only because of his productivity, you don't pay a guy $7.5 million to come in here and be a nice veteran backup, especially when the room's kind of wide open. If Randy Gregory's healthy, he is absolutely a starter. That's a massive if. I mean, we've seen it throughout his entire career. We saw it in Denver firsthand last year. Baron Browning, if he's healthy, he should be a starter, but I think this signing of Frank Clark means that Baron Browning, they're a lot more concerned about him than they're going to lead on. And we'll talk to Sean Payton next Tuesday after mandatory minicamp, and Sean's going to say, Baron, we're expecting him for some time in training camp. I'm not going to believe that because their actions just told me that they do not believe that's the case, because we talked about this outside linebacker position. If everyone's healthy, it's like this weird group where there's so much talent, but it's spread out among so many people. And then you have injuries like, could Nick Bonitto actually be a starter if he takes that a big step from last year? Yeah. But like, is he going to be better than Baron Browning? Probably not. But then they're kind of neck and you have like 4 or 5 guys neck and neck. You throw Frank Clark in here, he's kind of neck and neck with all of those guys. But one thing that I like about Frank Clark as a player, in fact, I love it about Frank Clark as a player, specifically in this room with the Broncos, you can count on him. Not just by getting 5 or 6 sacks a season, but you can count on him to be healthy. He's played in 14, 15, 16, 17 games every single year of his career. He is reliable from an injury standpoint. You can look around that entire room, and you can't say that about nearly anyone else. Jonathan Cooper's been hurt. Baron Browning's been hurt. Randy Gregory's been hurt. Frank Clark, not a guy that gets hurt and misses half of the season consistently. So I really like that about him, and that's why Henry, I think he's going to lead the team in sacks this year, which might not be a good thing for the Broncos unless you're getting 7 from Frank, 7 from Randy, 6 from Barron, 5 from Cooper, 5 from Bonitto, and you're adding all of the sacks that way. I think that if the Broncos are going to have a good pass rush, that's how it's done, is by all of these guys producing. I just don't see 2 guys exploding for 15 sacks this year, but now, I think Frank Clark is going to be the leading sack leader for the Broncos.
That's a tough one. I don't know. We should spend it. We should set the odds. I think that'd be a fun one. Build the board, what those odds should be.
I like that.
But yeah, because it's tough. Because I mean, Zach Allen's another guy. Where Zach Allen could just give you, like what? He's never had more than like 5. Yeah, but you expect better, so that 5 or 6.
So then there's another 5.
There's another one where he's right there with Frank Clark.
2.
He does get 2. Yeah, that'd be a long shot. But it's also good on Mike getting that Barron thing so quickly, because I don't know how exactly it worked, but I'd imagine.
Oh, Mike Kliss.
Yeah.
But it was like Mike Shanahan?
No, not Mike Shanahan.
The Barron news really quick.
That's like veteran reporter move.
Yep.
It's like, oh, they just signed an edge rusher. Oh, Baron Browning's been gone for a while. Okay, I got to figure out what's going on here, and bang, just gets it. Yep.
And to me, man, that is such a bummer for Baron Browning, because he was ready to explode. I mean, I thought he was ready to explode at inside linebacker last year. They moved into outside linebacker, questionable about that. He was hurt throughout some of the season, but when he was healthy, he was just flashing. So to me, if we found out the news that Baron Browning had this injury and they didn't sign anyone, oh boy, I'd be so concerned about the outside linebacker room. They filled the patch. They filled the leak with Frank Clark, but you still just wish that Baron Browning, you really hope that he's okay, so that Frank Clark is just a third down guy at 30 years old, that he can just be that third down. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I'm very worried about Baron Browning.
And I did pull up these other numbers. So 8.6 win percentage last year for Frank Clark.
Okay. Again,
that's just how often you beat your guy. For reference, Randy Gregory 16.7, Draymond Jones 12.9, Jonathan Cooper 12.7, Baron Browning 12.4, Bradley Chubb 11.8, Nick Bonitto 11.2, Jacob Martin 10.
I wish you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Wish you wouldn't have.
I will say this one's a little bit better. So there's 2 real per snap stats for pass rushing that Pro Football Focus tracks.
Okay.
I think the other one is called pass rush production. It's PRP, but this is one where it's basically the same thing, but it's not how often you get past your guy. It takes your sacks, your hits, your hurries, and weights them all, because obviously sacks are worth more, and compares that to how many snaps you're on the field. And so for that one, it's a...
You lost me, but tell me how good or bad he was.
It's a 5.9 for Frank Clark, which ties with Nick Bonitto. Jonathan Cooper had the 5.6. 8.2 for Browning, 7.8 for Bradley Chubb. It goes up.
Well, and maybe that's why 3 of his 4 years with Kansas City, he was a Pro Bowler. Last year being the year he was not a Pro Bowler.
I think those numbers, I'll double check, but just eyeballing, it looks like they were probably pretty similar his whole time in KC.
And some people have said, why was he available June 8th? And that's a great question. The Chiefs cut him to save money after they won their previous Super Bowl this year. He's been on the market this entire time. Clark could have waited to sign with the team because he's a vet. He doesn't need to chase the absolute top of the dollar market, since he's made a lot of money throughout his career. But that could be a reason why. It's just just like we're going to talk about Dalvin Cook in a minute. Is he falling off? And do teams believe that he is falling off? The Broncos clearly don't by giving him $5.5 million guaranteed and $7.5 million with incentives.
Also, those were the 2021 stats. I forgot I was still on that page. Frank Clark. It wasn't 8.9. It was a 10.2 last year.
Oh, so that, better.
That was exactly. And that's why everybody there was saying, "Oh, he's having a great year." 2020 was a 7. So steady improvement.
So we're talking about, there you go. I like that spin there, Henry. We're talking about the Broncos adding a pretty big piece on the defense today. And could they be adding a big piece on offense? Ooh. There's news indicating that will be the case with Dalvin Cook. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Saturday Neon. You want the coolest neon signs for your man cave. Outside, inside your office, Saturday Neon has it. We have multiple of the Saturday Neon signs here. We got a Buffs right next to the Rams. And yesterday, during the Nuggets game, I noticed that just the CU Buffs Saturday Neon sign was turned on. I think Ryan probably went in, unplugged the CSU one. He doesn't want them getting any shine in the Saturday Neon signs. Boy, do they shine. They are so nice. So if you want to get a neon sign for yourself, for someone else, it's a Colorado company started by two CU friends that went to CU. They're Denver-based, and it is just so cool. Talk about the best gift to get someone. And if you use the code DNVR, you're going to get 10% off your order today and free shipping on over $200. So check them out, SaturdayNeon.com, and use that code DNVR for 10% off.
And also, Father's Day is coming up. It's next Sunday. Cool. It is next Sunday.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
okay, cool. Nobody corrected me. Yep. Yeah. There we go. Next Sunday, Father's Day. What do we know about fathers? They are very hairy people.
Wow.
So head on over to Manscaped and get him some trimmers. They have a whole bunch of different packages, including a lot of them include the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0, which it's awesome. Nothing surprises your dad like a sleek, well-designed, optimized body hair trimmer that says your balls will thank you on the box. They have a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Your dad.
That would surprise him. They also have the different trimmers for your beard, or like the different formulations that they have. The crop preserver, which is how you don't sweat below the belt on days like today where you're out at Broncos practice where it's really, really hot. It's awesome. I think I still have the Lawnmower 3.0, if I'm not totally sure, because I think the 4.0 now has the additional guard length, sizes 1 through 4. It's a wireless charger. Electromagnetic induction is how it charges.
That sounds scary.
Sounds pretty great. I wonder how many times it shakes. Because the blade goes back and forth.
Oh, boy. Probably more than your toothbrush.
Toothbrush is 266 times per second.
I don't believe it, man.
No, it's true. It's true. I can show. I'll bring it in one of these days.
$266? That would make sense.
Well, I got it on sale. It was supposed to be like $70, and I got it for $40.
Damn, you bargain shopper.
Yeah.
How were the $4 Mountain Beach yesterday?
So those are actually $6. The $4 Fun Slingers are still here.
Oh.
Okay, it was wrong. We had 10 of them.
Oh, who's we?
Me and a friend.
You and a friend. Yeah. So you had a great time last night. I love it.
I had a really great time last night. It was a really good time. But I will also have a really great time when I get home to my lawnmower and make sure I take care of myself, because it's really important this warm time of year to do that. And you should help your dad out by going to manscaped.com, using code DNVR, because you'll get 20% off and free shipping with the code DNVR at manscaped.com. So head on over there.
Speaking of fathers, that's not enough for your father. For everything your father does for you, you're going to want to check out the DNVR Locker. The Father's Day sale we've got going on starts today, going through Father's Day. You buy one, get one half off on all shirts and hats. I mean, just look at the shirts we've got. You want to celebrate the Nuggets. We've got so many Nugget shirts. Avs, Of course, we got Broncos and Rockies as well. So check out our Father's Day sale over at DNVR Locker and become a diehard because you're going to get discounts on top of the discounts that we're dishing out. So become a diehard. It supports us a lot. And then also check out the DNVR Locker for your, maybe just, use that for your dad and then keep one of the things for yourself as well. It's a win-win.
We also now have things for babies to wear.
We do have things for babies. So if your father is going to have a baby.
Oh. Or if he's really, really, really small and likes to wear a onesie around.
Wow. That would be... Or on Father's Day, a way to tell your father that you're having a baby, give him the onesie.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
I wonder if there's one that would be... There's one of like the guy shooting a basketball. There's anything that like leans into that, There's also those pint glasses now.
Yep.
So there's all the logos on different cups. I always think I might need some of those.
Yeah. Well, check out the Father's Day sale.
I might need to.
Yeah, for your father as well. Okay, Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin freaking Cook.
This morning, he was, air quotes, released by the Vikings because he actually wasn't released by the Vikings. The Vikings are planning on releasing Dalvin Cook. What they're doing is they're putting out that they're going to release him, and then they're pulling back and saying, wait, we'll take trade offers, though. If someone wants to trade for him by tomorrow afternoon... And if not, then we'll just release him. So you know what that means, Henry? That means no team is going to trade for him. They just delay him being able to be a true free agent until tomorrow afternoon, but he will be a free agent. Dalvin Cook will be released by the Vikings. We've been speculating about. We talked about this Tuesday in depth, Wednesday in depth. One of those days Tuesday. We talked about it in depth because we knew it was coming and we knew the Broncos were going to have interest in it. And 2 minutes after news came out that the Vikings were releasing him, Adam Schefter tweeted, the Dolphins and the Broncos are expected to have interest in Dalvin Cook among other teams, but he specifically mentioned the Denver Broncos. When you saw that tweet from Adam, what'd you think?
Wow, Sean Payton at it again. Here we go. Yeah, it is interesting. I do think that there's a very small chance he gets traded today because, all these teams know he'll be a free agent tomorrow. Might be easier to just convince the Vikings to give him to you than it is to convince Dalvin to come to you.
That's what the Vikings want you to think, Henry. And so they're not releasing him. They're not trading him.
The tough part is you'd have to get him to restructure that contract
immediately.
And if you're Dalvin, why would you restructure the contract when you can just field offers tomorrow?
Especially when a team just traded for you, so clearly they want you enough. I could see a sign and trade or a trade and restructure happening. But you're right.
Hit the open market.
If you're down? Yeah, you get to choose not only your contract, but the place that you want to be in.
Yep. And we can get into Dalvin Cook again, and it's worth doing because he is a good football player. But in terms of the Broncos trying to get him, if it's just the Dolphins as competition, even that alone is going to be pretty tough to win. If tomorrow he's getting calls from both teams, well, there's just so many pieces to it. So he's from Miami. So there you go. Hometown. Where does he want to be? Probably Miami over Denver.
Yep.
There's you look at the two offenses and say, look, this Miami offense was awesome last year.
Yeah.
It's based purely on speed, which Dalvin Cook has. Like he would fit in really well in that way. Whereas obviously Broncos offense, maybe you could call that a net neutral because he wants to play the Alvin Kamara role. Maybe it balances out, but I don't think the Broncos win that. The other piece, Broncos already have Javonte, who's probably coming back, and maybe they can tell him we don't think he is, and all indications are pointing the other way. Meanwhile, with the Dolphins, he just has to beat out Raheem Mostert. Seems a lot easier than trying to beat out Javonte. Then you throw in there's an income tax in Colorado, so if it's a tie, then you got to pay even a little bit more on top of that. And so in my book, the Broncos would probably have to pay a couple $1 million more than the Dolphins offer to get him, and that just means they're behind the 8 ball. And then you get into the other teams who could be available, where if there's 5 teams in a bidding war, that's going to be even tougher to win. This is just if it's those two. It'd be exciting. It's great to see the Broncos are involved, I think.
Henry, I can't disagree with anything you said. I mean, you make a really good case for Miami, and I think it's just the honest case for Miami over the Broncos, let alone any other teams being in this. But here's the case you make for Dalvin. Could you imagine? Let Dalvin cook.
Oh, okay. That is clever. That is clever.
And then we don't have to worry about Russ cooking anymore.
Like
it's just letting
recruiting.
Dalvin cook.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, look, I'm going on my visit to Penn State. And you show up. I think there was a video of Penn State in particular recently. So you go to the hotel and they've got like on the couch, there's like 30 flyers. And it's just like picture you in Penn State gear. On the counter, it's like, oh, look, the magazine covers. This is what Sports Illustrated is going to write when you win the Heisman. It's like, let Dalvin Cook just put it everywhere when he visits.
He'd be like, what is this?
What is this?
Weird as shit.
Wow, it's like going back to Florida State again.
Yep.
That's how Jimbo there when he got there?
I think so. Like I think Jimbo was there. But this, if they sign Dalvin Cook, it'd probably be for a decent contract. Maybe it's 1 year, $5 million, just because there is going to be competition from him. Last year, Melvin Gordon got 1 year, $2.5 million, I believe, from the Broncos in May. There was no competition out there for Melvin. Barely any competition. There's going to be competition for Dalvin Cook, so it's going to be more than that. Maybe he can get a multi-year deal, but typically if guys are released now, you just get a 1 year prove-it deal, see how much money they can get. $5-8 million is where I guess Dalvin Cook's deal is going to come in around, which is honestly good for him if he can get that. But this would be bad news for what it means for Javonte Williams in my eyes. Frank Clark, the Broncos signing Frank Clark shows me more than their words what they think of Baron Browning's injury situation. If they sign Dalvin Cook, it means they think they need another number one because Javonte Williams isn't going to be as ready as they're portraying. Remember, they're saying that Javonte Williams is going to be ready to go by the start of training camp. Yeah, you can have more good players on your team. I like the idea of adding more good players. But Henry, are you really going to get 3 running backs the ball an adequate amount, and it's worth paying one of them $5 to $8 million this year? If Javonte Williams really is ready for week 1 of the season, I just think that this would actually mean that, okay, they're giving Javonte more time, which I think would be a smart thing. But I'm just saying we really have to pump the brakes on where Javonte is if they go out and sign Dalvin Cook. Saying that, I would like them to do that because I don't want them to speed up Javonte Williams' return and worry about hurting him for the rest of his career with this. So I'm all for it at the right price. And now we got to talk price because the Broncos entering today had $10.1 million in cap space, right around middle of the league in the NFL. Now they're giving Frank Clark $7.5 million. It's all in 1 year, so it's all going to be a cap hit of this year. And less the incentive, they could bump the incentive to next year as well. So the Broncos have less than $5 million in cap space now. People are saying, do they have the cap? They don't have the cap after signing Frank Clark. They would have to make a restructure with someone. They'd have to cut someone significant to open up some cap room. They can absolutely do that. This is the ultimate Sean Payton move. Yeah. When you don't think there's cap space, they sign someone and make cap space. Yes, there's room.
Because again, like the way the cap really works is it's like cumulative. And so whenever they started the new cap system where it rolls over, let's just say it's 2000. I think it was way before then. Okay. But so then at the end of 2000, your total expenditures need to meet your cap space up to that point. You get to 2005 and it's like, okay, you've had 5 seasons. That 5 seasons of money has to add up to 5 seasons so far because you just get to roll up over and over and over. So at this point, what that means is like, you just tell Justin, hey, Justin Simmons, instead of giving you your like $12 million in salary this year, just take it all right now, and all of a sudden you have the cap space. And so then that gets pushed forward, and next year push it forward again. And so it is all just like accounting, and it's really easy accounting to get around. Whether this is the year where you spend a whole bunch of money, I don't know, because you could
They've spent a whole bunch of money already, more than any other team in the NFL.
And so you can probably do it like 5-6 times before it really bites you. I mean, the Saints are right there. You can just count back the Saints and you see it. Is this one of the years? Do you half do it so you can do another halftime next? Like, I don't know. I don't know, because again, this is just me. They have somebody as a full-time employee who just spends all day going through that stuff. In terms of what that looks like together, again, has there ever been a coach who has used 2 running backs together better than Sean Payton? I will say it'd be a bad deal for Samaje Perine.
Oh, it's a terrible deal. I'd feel so.
Oh yeah.
As bad as you can feel for a guy that's making probably a guaranteed $4 million over the next 2 years. As bad as you can feel for a guy making that sort of money, I'd feel so bad for him. Henry, he could have easily probably stayed in Cincinnati. I know the Bengals really liked him, but you know what? The Broncos told him, and he actually did an interview, I think, with the Denver Post after he signed. that the Broncos had a bigger role for him.
Yeah.
And that he could have a bigger role with the Broncos, not just because of Javonte's injury, but taking even a bigger role, helping Javonte out. If they signed Dalvin Cook, oh, man, I'd feel bad for Samaje.
But, I mean, Sean Payton's made 2 running backs work before, and
Not three.
Not three.
Unless you want to count Taysom Hill. Maybe he has made 3
I don't know
work
where
in
you
the
count
past.
him. He's a joker.
Samaje, you're going to have the Taysom Hill role in our
Wow.
offense outside of being the quarterback.
Could you imagine? I mean, you look back at 2017, Mark Ingram, 1,540 yards from scrimmage. Alvin Kamara, 1,554 yards from scrimmage. Again, you've got Drew Brees at quarterback, and you've got, like, Michael Thomas goes for 1,200 yards. I guess Ted Ginn had 826, too. So you did have a decent amount of receiving there, too.
And those guys were more different, the Kamara and then Javonte and Dalvin would be. But Dalvin obviously would be more of the fast guy, and Javonte would be more of the bruiser, but they can both kind of do both.
And exactly. And the flip side, the crazy thing is, you look at that and say, you can make the case that the better receiver is Javonte and the better runner between the tackles is Dalvin, which is kind of strange because, again, they can both do whatever. And honestly, Mark Ingram had the same, like, he had 400 receiving yards in that season.
Wow.
Kamara just happened to have 800, so it covers that up. But
nuts.
I mean, all the different formations, you can put them both on the field. We talk about how Sean Payton loves to do that. Like, either one of those guys, I was wishing I would have asked him last week if he thinks Javonte could be that joker. Like, if he could factor in, because it has mostly been running backs that do it, and Dalvin Cook could. There's so many different ways that you could do it. And it might not be every week you see them both on the field together a bunch. There will be weeks where that work makes sense because they decide they're going heavy or they're going light or whatever, and you find whatever advantage. So football-wise, there's a way to make it work. And silver lining for Samaje Perine is if you're going to be behind 2 running backs, Dalvin Cook, who has some injury history, and Javonte Williams, who's coming off the injury he's coming off of, those might be 2 backs you kind of want to be behind because you might wind up with some touches in at least a few games.
Yeah, and you can never have too many running backs.
No.
And additionally, what's fueling the fire for this is in the past week, the Broncos have cut 3 running backs.
Yeah.
It's like,
Again,
what's going on
shout out
here?
Mike Klisser. It's like, no Baron Browning for a while. This guy, we should ask about this one.
Right.
It's a kind of same thing. It's like, no running backs in a while. Oh, you want Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
We can connect the dots a little bit and say, I believe that they want Dalvin Cook.
Man, if I'm Samaje, and they did sign Dalvin Cook, I just want to sue the Broncos for telling me I was going to have a big role. And maybe he should call our friends over at Backus and Shanker. 222-2222 Samaje. I don't know if they could help you with this case because they didn't actually physically injure you. But if you personally are in an accident, someone you know, a family member, a loved one, is in some sort of accident, automobile, pedestrian, rideshare, bicycle, and you are injured, call our friends over at Backus and Shanker. Not only do they win, they've won over $1 billion for their cases, but they've also, unfortunately, gone through similar things themselves, all the way to the top with Kyle Backus himself. And so they know how to relate to you. They know how to go through the process with you, more than just the legal side, but the personal connection, emotional side as well. They know it's a very tough time, and they know the best way to move forward with you. And give them a call because it's a free consultation. You go through the process with them. You're not paying them anything until you win. And then, like I said, they've won over $1 billion for their clients. So if you're involved in any sort of accident, yourself, a family member, a friend, a loved one, give them a call at 222-2222. Backus and Shanker wins.
And also head on over to see our friends at Shady Rays. I was wearing my Shady Rays today.
Yes,
I was a little bit worried
Got
about
them on set right now.
Yeah, I was worried about my sunglass line today. It's so tough for those practices because they're like, what, you're out there for 2 hours?
Yep.
Because media's in the shade, so that doesn't really count. So you're out there for about 2 hours. So you put on sunscreen before, but you kind of need like a second round with like 30 minutes or like 15 minutes to go. But I don't want to bring my sunscreen with me. You know, it's just so inconvenient. And so it's like, okay, I'm just going to load up before, and we're going to let what happens. And I think
You look pretty good.
I think today it went all right.
I can tell you where the sunscreen.
Yeah.
Mom would be happy.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. She would be. So Shady Rays, though, they cover the top part of your face. You know, I've talked a lot about how I get sunscreen in my eyes. I get a lot of things in my eyes. I think I've talked about the sunscreen particularly, though.
Yeah.
It's really nice to know I'm just wearing these for 2.5 hours. So you just have to go all the way up to like right around here.
You don't have to
I
get
have the
too
hat,
close to the
so I don't have to go
eyes.
up above where
Yep,
it can sweat
good
down.
point.
So just one more reason to get shady rays. And
I thought you were about
obviously,
to wear sunglasses inside on me.
I would never. But if you would, then Shady Rays is for you. And even if you
true.
wouldn't, then it's still for you because you go outside.
Yeah.
ShadyRays.com. Use the code DNVR. You'll get 50% off if you buy 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Want to give a shout out before we go any further to our guy Noah, who works in the bar, big DNVR Broncos pod listener. Met him last night. Awesome guy. Really enjoyed meeting you and really enjoyed meeting everyone at the bar last night. Henry, game 4 tomorrow in Miami for the Nuggets. You're going to want to be at the bar. It's the place to be. Friday night. I mean, the bar was filling up at like 4 p.m. yesterday. You're going to want to be here so early. A lot of people probably taking half days to get down to the bar. It's going to be awesome. Okay.
Real quick on Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Just so there is that buzz that like he's not himself. It's weird though. I guess he has lost like maybe a half a step as a runner. He used to be like arguably the fastest running back in the league. Well, one of the 2 or 3. He's still one of the very fastest in the league. Maybe not what he was. The big difference though is the tackle breaking, which is strange. Like just going back and looking at what Vikings fans have been saying, it's like, yeah, if somebody gets a hand on him, he's kind of just done at this point. Still really good at not letting people get hands on him. He's put up more than 1,100 yards in 4 straight seasons, which speaks for itself. But the yards after contact per attempt, which Pro Football Reference tracks, just throughout his career, 2, 2.4, 2.4, 1.9, 1.8. So you can even see it right there. Just like, just not, but again, Sean Payton putting him in the Joker role, getting him out in space, letting him run, change angles on people.
Did you not listen to Sean Payton last week? Greg Dulcich is the Joker.
Yeah, but so was Alvin Kamara, and I see some similarities there.
And Reggie Bush and Darren Sproles, running backs who are fast.
Yep. So I do think, I mean,
fair.
He had an 80-yard touchdown last year, a 60-yard touchdown last year, which again brings up the yards per carry. I guess the 60-yarder was a catch, but there are some things. And Chris Thomason of the Gazette, he was actually covering him with the Vikings, and he said, I think he basically agreed when I said, like, that's what's missing, right? It's a tackle breaking, but he also said he was really banged up, wound up with an offseason shoulder surgery, so you wonder if maybe he was just kind of dodging contact a little bit because his shoulder was hurting, didn't want to injure it more, and maybe after the offseason he'll be back to himself. There's kind of your conspiracy theory, but expecting a running back to get better when he turns 28, maybe not a good bet.
Yeah, maybe not a good bet. But the Broncos are taking that bet with Frank Clark. Maybe not that he's going to get better, but they're hoping that he's right around a Pro Bowl level, which is kind of what he's been 3 of the past 4 years. Okay, Henry, we were at Broncos practice, like you said. We watched so much of practice. We're only allowed to say pretty much nothing. What do we need to know from practice? Obviously, Baron Browning wasn't out there. That was a big takeaway. We've talked about that.
Only person not out there. Mike Purcell's still not dressing, whatever's going on. Like, there's some guys like that, but everybody else was there.
So Henry's breaking out his diary right now, his Broncos diary, to tell us everything he can't tell us right now. Man, he's looking at some great notes right now. You guys are missing out on so much good stuff.
So the big winner, easy big winner of the day, I think, Caden Stearns.
Yeah.
Caden Stearns, easy big winner. Again, we can't say too much, but we are helped out by the fact it was actually your question, wasn't it?
Yep. I tried to bait Sean into telling us about it so we could talk about it.
He had a good play or big play, whatever you said, and Sean said, he had the really good play deep downfield. So take that for what you want.
What do you think a really good play? Is that what he said?
I think it was really good.
A really good play downfield typically doesn't happen in the running game, right? Probably not.
It can't be a really good play.
Yeah, it can't be a really good play. You're not making a really good tackle 40 yards downfield. Maybe the ball was in the air and he made a play on it. I don't know.
That's the other option. So yeah, really big day. He also pointed out, like, he's super smart. And the other thing, Caden's fast. And you think about what that combination of him and Justin can look like. He's faster than Justin is. And Justin's fast, like, obviously he's rangy and all that. But just like the burstiness, the smarts, like that combination, I think they really could be onto something. But Caden Stearns, easy big winner of the day.
Really quick, he's got a chance to do something I thought might happen last year, but he's really got a chance to become the starting safety next to Justin Simmons, in my opinion.
Definitely.
And we're just going to see what that means for Kareem Jackson, or if Kareem is going to just overtake him.
Yeah,
Or not let Caden overtake him.
Exactly. Again, it's a battle is something we can say.
Yeah.
So
a big takeaway for me, because I think Caden was the number one takeaway. The second biggest takeaway, attention to detail. This is what Sean Payton told us right when he got the job, right when he was having his introductory press conference, and he has a little horse pin pointing up because that's the attention to detail he wants. He wants the Broncos pointing in the right direction. Today we saw it for the first time on the field. Sean Payton took over this practice, whether it was special teams, offense, defense. He was involved in everything, pretty much leading a good amount of practice himself, and they were paying attention to these 42 to 43 to 75. We heard all three of those numbers.
It is kind of funny.
And whatever number it truly is, it's end of half, end of game situations that Sean Payton has identified that the team needs to know. So it's anywhere between 42 and 75 situations. Sean Payton said 43 and 42. A player said 75.
Sutton.
Cortland said 75.
It's like, he told us 75.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different situations that we've seen the Broncos completely botch at the end of games, at the end of halves over the years, whether it's Nathaniel Hackett, Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio, that Sean Payton wants to make sure does not happen. We can't get into the details of what they were, the details of the details of what they were practicing, but this is some very, very specific things that Sean said may happen once a season, but
or even not even every season.
Right, every couple seasons. But if we don't practice it and this comes up in a game, it's going to cost us a game. And he's 100% right. And they're practicing these things on June 8th. He said today they did 8 of them. Next week, they're going to do a couple every single day. In training camp, they're going to do a couple every single day. And I just love this. It's some of it's very obvious stuff like, well, of course a player should do that. But how often do you see, whether it's the Broncos or another team, and in a situation where it's, of course the player should step out of bounds when there's 1 second left and you need to kick a field goal, where the player turns up field and then gets tackled 3 yards later in bounds, and then you lose the game because they didn't step out of bounds. It's things like that Sean Payton's saying, I'm not going to just trust my players to be smart football players. We're actually going to practice this because it's all about teaching and making sure that they know what to do.
And we can't tell you what the scenarios are, but we can say what those factors could be. Like, what's the score? Is it a tie game? Are you up by 3? Are you down by 4? Are you down by 3? Are you down by... So, like, all the different scores, which could mean you need however many points, and some of them are just, like, halftime maximizing the opportunity, but also, where are you on the field? If it's 4th down and you're in this spot versus that spot versus the score, how do you handle those different things? If there's 9 seconds and you have timeouts or you don't have timeouts and you're at whatever spot on the field and you're down by what do you do? Is it a spike or is it timeout or is it people need to be ready to run so all those different things, again, all those different combinations, those are important. Those are really, really important. And again, I wasn't here for OTAs last year. My guess would be that this was not one of the focuses of that last staff, and that's just because of what we saw during the season.
Henry, I haven't seen attention to detail like this at any point in the season from any coaching staff that I've been around, and that goes back to Gary Kubiak. That goes back to Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio, Nathaniel Hackett, and certainly we weren't seeing things like that last year from Nathaniel Hackett. And just look, week 1 last year, they get into a 4th and 5. From the 46 hash, and there's 46 seconds. You have Peyton Manning on the TV. Yeah, left hash. You have Peyton Manning on TV calling 46 timeouts before the Broncos finally do, and it was a nightmare. That's not going to happen with Sean Payton.
Peyton Manning in attendance today.
Yes,
also.
And Marshall Manning in attendance.
And Carl Durrell as well.
Yeah, your guy, Carl
my
Durrell.
Guy. And Carl Durrell was there. I think he's been trying to get to a practice here for a while.
Leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And love seeing Peyton there. It was a Peyton show. You had Sean Payton, you had Peyton Manning, you had George Payton.
Yeah.
Both Greg Penner and Kerry Walton Penner were at practice. This ownership group is very, very involved. Okay, other small tidbits that we need to talk about from practice.
In terms of during practice, I think, let's see, we mentioned that Jonathan Cooper had his stretch, but that's another guy who stood out.
Number 0 is looking good.
Number 0 is looking really freaking good.
Ooh, how about this one? This is going to get Broncos country pumped, and I'm happy. Thankful for Josie Jewell giving us this detail while talking to him after practice. He said Riley Moss stopped Jerry Jeudy during a one-on-one drill in coverage during OTAs and said that Moss has been very impressive. A rookie cornerback slowing down Jerry Jeudy is about as exciting as it can get when talking about the potential of that cornerback.
Yep. I'll throw in, well, let's go quick thumbs up, thumbs down from maybe a similar segment of practice. To Isaiah Prince, I'll give him a thumbs down. Again, there's a thumbs down at the end of the world, no, but that's made the notebook for something that happened.
Especially for an undrafted rookie. Geez, Henry is mean. He's just kicking this undrafted rookie while he's down. My goodness.
He's not an undrafted. He started for the Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Oh, sorry. It's the you're right.
It's the other guy. Yeah,
the guy that's not going to make the team. Henry's kicking while he's down. Let me put it that way.
Isn't that crazy though? Like,
yeah,
he's like a backup for forever. The Bengals have the injuries, and so he starts the playoff run for the Bengals. I think at left tackle. And then you'll remember that next offseason was just everybody talking about how terrible the Bengals offensive line was and how they need to change it. Like nobody's talked that badly about an offensive line nationally in who knows how long.
Yeah, truly true.
It's like, yeah, he's experienced, but also some of those undrafted guys are pretty good. So how does that's a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
It turns out a lot of these guys are depth guys. I had little Jordan Humphrey with a little thumbs down there at the end.
Oh, damn.
I had here's one that if you care about this, you're a sicko. Marcus Haynes. Marcus Haynes got some big love from the sideline for a play he made toward the end of practice. Undrafted free agent, another small school guy, outside linebacker.
I'll go with some guys that you have heard of. A guy by the name of Jerry Jeudy. After practice, Sean Payton said he's going to be, was it extra hard on him? Something along those lines. He's going to be extra hard on Jerry Jeudy because he knows his talent, he knows his potential, and he is going to maximize the most from Jerry Jeudy. That's just huge. And Henry, it's something that we have said since the Broncos drafted him. His talent and potential is clearly there, and I love that Sean Payton knows that and isn't just going to baby him along the way. He's going to push him to be as good as he can be, which is potentially a 1,500-yard receiver.
Definitely. And Cortland Sutton said that he got his hands a couple of weeks ago on the Michael Thomas film from 2019. So it's just every target that Michael Thomas got in that season. I think 1,500 yards.
Yep.
I don't think he got to 16. It was over 1,500 yards though. He says they're obviously learning that same playbook. They're learning how to run all those routes. So it's nice to be able to look back and say, hey, there's a really big guy.
Yeah.
Here's how he ran this slant, or here's how he ran this out. Maybe keep that one in mind. There are some other things that I like that Sean Payton said that aren't probably not worth the time. But like when he's talking about the situations, he said we have to know those. We have to know those cold. You know those cold. Which I was like, okay, there's no talking about before. You know it cold. I like that phrase. He also said that when the season starts, training camp starts, it's like getting on an aircraft carrier for 6 months because you're just locked in there. I was like, I like that.
I love
one
it.
too.
Can you imagine being on an aircraft carrier for 6 months?
The crazy thing is, so when I was in San Diego, we went to the aircraft carrier there.
Okay.
Awesome. If I could have a week on that thing, incredible. 6 months, oh my God, that'd be terrible.
It would
That'd be terrible.
Let me read you some quotes from Garrett Bolles and react to them, Henry. I love Mike McGlinchey.
I agree. Yep.
I love Ben Powers.
I'll also agree.
I dearly love Russell Wilson.
By the time season rolls around, I'll be right there with him. I'm still working my way back up.
I believe we got I love yous from about three people from Garrett.
Which
what
is
a loving
weird,
man.
Because again, like when I think back to that press conference, I think of it as wow, that's a big, mean guy who's excited to go be big and mean again. But he was talking about love a lot, wasn't he?
He was, yes. He said that about all of those guys when talking about the offensive line. He said, we're all hungry. Or he said, let's see, everyone's a dog. Everyone's hungry. Everyone wants to win. He says this is the closest he's ever been with an entire offensive line because they all have those same ideas and philosophies. And when talking about Russell Wilson, boy, was he pissed off at everyone who said a bad thing about Russell Wilson. He looked us dead in the eyes and said, everyone's going to eat crow after Russ comes out and has a big year this year. So all the haters are going to be hating themselves after this year.
It was tense. I like the attitude, though. I like where he's coming from. Like, I think he was asked about getting back to the Pro Bowl or something, and it was like a long question. He said,
not back to, but
to the Pro Bowl. But he's been at a Pro Bowl level before, just not at the Pro Bowl. He was an All-Pro.
Yeah.
But he said, you'll see at the end of the season. Oh, my goodness. I was like, okay, we'll see then. He used that answer a couple times.
He did.
How good can you be? You'll see it at the end of the season.
It's so funny because then other times he's saying how he loves guys. And like typically when you talk to a player, you know if they're going to give you short answers, be dicks or be really nice and just keep talking and talking and talking. And Garrett, you don't know. It's question to question. He's going to give you a one-word answer and be as mean as ever and going to give you a 2-minute answer about how much he loves Russell Wilson. It's going to be so many love bombs dropped in there.
And like I did about halfway through, I was like, oh, this is one of those where it's like, okay, we're asking him about how was breaking your leg? Like, how do you feel coming back from the broken leg? It's like, oh, things didn't go well last year. Like, do you think Russ can be better? Is Russ
like
gonna
you're
be
making fun of the media
No,
right now,
no,
Henry.
because those are the questions for somebody in Garrett's situation coming off a bad season. Like, there's times when you get asked fun questions and get to like enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of like, there were the good ones about like, how's Mike McGlinchey, Ben Powers, like in Garrett's brain, positive things. A lot of it though, as you'd expect from a 5-11 team and a guy who broke his leg, not a lot of fun questions in there.
Right. No, not a lot of fun questions, but we do have some fun questions. Should we hop into the comment section?
Yeah,
of course we should. Really quick, before we do that, hit us with a thumbs up. Just hit over 100 likes. Let's get to 200 on this show. We really appreciate it. And let's start, actually, with a comment coming in from Tom Kearns. Really cool one. He says, 4 years on an aircraft carrier and 1 deployment on board for 51 straight days without pulling into port. Tom, first off, thank you so much for your service.
Definitely.
Honored that you're rolling with us. And, man, that is tough. That is
tough.
impressive.
It was really cool going on the aircraft carrier because that's the stuff. I don't know. Me and Lexi have gone on a couple trips together now.
Yep.
Again, maybe not the exact same taste and things to do. Like in London, all I want to do, I got to get to the Tower of London. I was hyped to see it. And we go, and she was like, wow, that was really cool. I was like, oh, thank God. Because she was skeptical at first. I think maybe the same thing with the aircraft carrier. It's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And we came off, and she was like, "Oh, that was really cool." I was like, "Oh, thank God we get along," because otherwise, like,
so
what
then
are we
some
gonna
things
do?
that she's wanted to do, you've come away saying, "Wow, that was really cool, Lexi." You've reciprocated that, right?
We do a lot of things I like to do.
Oh, wow! Including a halftime last night.
That was fun. The aircraft carrier, which now sounds concerning. I look back.
It's not what you think.
No. But the aircraft carrier, oh, those are so cool. Like, those things are massive. They're like cities out there. Like, imagine you have to cook food for, 5,000 people who live on this damn boat. And guess what? They're out there for 2 months straight.
Yeah.
I guess, actually, they have helicopters. They drop stuff off. So they do get resupplied. But I learned a lot also.
A lot of
food
carrier. On those.
Yeah. It's like there's barbers in there. You got to take like your turn
really
working
true.
like the laundry and stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, it's crazy.
It is crazy. This comment section's about to be crazy too. I have a feeling.
Oh no.
We got super chat coming in from our guy Triple G. Says, "Let's go."
Let's go.
I imagine that's in reference to you being on an aircraft carrier.
Either that or halftime.
Yeah, or halftime probably, or maybe Frank Clark. Who knows?
Yeah.
Mason Bates says, "Is there a discount on becoming a diehard?" Yes, there is a discount on becoming a diehard. When you come to the bar for games, you get to come for free. Otherwise, it's a $10 cover. You get a free Breck brew. That's for the finals only, for Nuggets finals. But there's also discounts on the website as well to get in on the DNVR locker thing. So check out everything you get with being a diehard over there. Jared says, "What was Vance Joseph doing?" He was practicing. He was
Well,
he was enjoying
coaching.
He was coaching, yeah. He was
That would
enjoying
be awesome if he was
a
practicing.
good practice though.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
We didn't get to talk to him. We will be
No.
talking to him for the first time next week though. For the first time, you heard that right. In 6 months since he's been hired, we get to talk to Vance Joseph next week. So definitely going to want to stay tuned. Next week is going to be a little different of a schedule for us. We're still waiting on the Broncos schedule, but they have practices that we get to watch Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So make sure you're staying tuned for that, where we're going to be getting more information than we have since Sean Payton was hired. It's going to be a big week. So really looking forward to that. Let's hop over to the website for some comments there. One coming in from Howie Boot My Boomer says, the Madden cover curse. Back in 2020 when Mahomes first made the cover, I commented on the official EA Madden NFL Facebook page. All I said was, quote, I hope the Madden curse continues.
Wow.
I was instantly bombarded with the comments with death threats from Chiefs fans who started stalking me through my photos and talking about my wife and children. I had to delete the post pretty quickly. Stay classy, Chiefs fans. Holy cow.
Kind of which, like, okay, I get you don't get to say like I hope he gets hurt. That's wrong.
I
But
guess he was
also,
saying.
you know what's worse than saying I hope he gets hurt? I hope you die.
I hope you die.
Like
Yeah.
that's much worse.
That is
Obviously,
taking it to a different level.
Exactly. So who's the real bad guy?
That's a really good point. Broncos fans are not the real
Never.
bad guy. Yeah. Nash Bronco says, what we learned from DNVR Broncos today. 1, Hank is afraid of not English words. Quote, we
Yeah.
do English here. Those were Hank's words. Those are staying on his
What?
side.
So this is what, like 7 years of this podcast, still
Yeah.
in English.
Well, yes. Yes. It doesn't mean we can't embrace other cultures.
If you want to do a Spanish show, I'm
can't.
down.
I can't. I
Hola,
can't.
me llamo Henry.
Habla español?
Sí, mucho.
No.
Sí.
Liar. Liar.
No hablo inglés. ¿Cómo se dice?
Gato muy malo.
Gato. That's a bad cat?
Very impressive. Look at you.
Wow.
And the second thing he says, per Zach, Wyoming is, quote, kind of local.
Wait, Wyoming?
I stick by that.
I just I see how like people from Wyoming would be like, oh yeah, Denver. So here's the thing. So I grew up Columbia Falls, way up in the corner of Montana.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like back to school shopping. What do? You go to Spokane. It's
Okay.
like a 5-hour drive or something. But again, like you want like a real mall.
Back to school shopping.
Like,
you have
if that's
to
what you're
go
doing.
5 hours.
Like there's some like stores and stuff. But if you wanted like a
You're talking
real
about
mall,
we're talking about pencils and pens and like.
well, no,
and
there's
paper.
There's a Walmart.
What?
But
What
again,
could you
but-
not get at Walmart
But like
for back
people,
to school
it's like
shopping
I remember like the Old Navy store there was a big thing.
in
it's like-
Spokane?
Yeah, like
You
a lot-
drive 5 hours
Well,
for an Old Navy.
I didn't.
Oh,
Others did.
I don't know.
And
I think
so-
you're backtracking now.
No, I've only bought like 2 things ever from an Old Navy. But like there's stores like that where it's like most of them you just don't have unless you go there, and they have a great mall there. I could see people in Wyoming being like, oh yeah, sometimes like we jump down to Denver to do things like that. So I could see them saying like, oh,
Right.
that's almost local. But for us to claim them, it's like they're
Oh, I don't
you know,
wanna claim them.
we can't do
Don't-
that.
Right,
That's
right,
not local to
The-
us.
the
They could
cooler
really
place
extend
gets claimed.
the regional, not local, regional.
The cooler.
Yeah,
Cooler place
at
gets
that
claimed.
distance.
Yeah.
But we have. Yeah, they're
I
not
mean,
local
it,
to
it-
us.
It is regional. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not local to us. Okay, and then the final one. Henry, per ABC
Oh,
News,
no.
the average person comes into contact with
I'm loving
60,000
this.
types of germs every day.
Okay.
Doorknobs, remote controls, keyboards, and
Those
phones
aren't-
are some
okay.
of the dirtiest surfaces we encounter, and it sounds like Hank encounters a lot or all of these things every day. So yes, Henry, you should not bring any of this into your place of sleep. And we actually had a comment that pretty much led off this pod in the live comments that said Henry should be sued for the amount of
What?
germs he brings around.
That's not true. Okay, first of all, so let's just say he's right. There's
Yeah.
just covered in germs, all these different germs.
You've got like 5 times the amount of germs as everyone else. And so does your bed.
Okay.
When you get in your bed tonight, you're just walking into you're just sleeping in germ infestation.
So I wake up at 8 a.m.
Yep.
You wake up, you're just slowly getting germy
Yep,
all day.
exactly.
You're
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're spending like 18 hours a day covered in germs.
Yeah.
What's wrong with being covered in germs for like the 6 year in bed or whatever? Like it's no different. You're already covered in
That's-
germs all day.
That's your most vulnerable place. Don't you want
To
to be
germs?
clean in
Germs
bed?
like to attack sleeping people?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're just
I
laying
would like
there.
to talk to a scientist about that.
You want to
Also,
talk to a germ?
what do we do?
You got 60,000 of them on you.
60,000 types, which again, what the hell is a type of germ? That's another one, because it's not like you say like, oh, this is a computer germ or this is like a money germ. Like, what
I don't
are
think
these
there's
different types
computer
of
money germs?
No, but what are they?
Probably ones that want to harm you, do bad things to you.
Wow, I wonder if a germ actually does want that, or if it's just what it does. You know,
think they want it.
like you think they think like, oh,
yeah. They're
but
probably
I need to go
crawling into your mouth
harm this
right
guy.
now, into your
well,
nose.
yeah, in everybody's covered in germs. That's just how germs
it's more
work.
so you though.
I
just so you
wish
know.
there was a way to test this. I don't think I'm covered in. I mean,
We
today,
need to
I guess
swab you.
at practice, don't ever swab me.
I don't know if there were germs out there. We're literally in grass and that's it.
I was a little sweaty.
Well, I don't think
And covered in
sweat is
sunscreen.
germs. Do you know what germs are, Henry?
Yeah, the little green guys
Germs
crawl
are
around.
germs are not sweat. Yeah, they're the green guys. You
Yeah.
got a lot of them on you.
But like they got to
You
come
got that
from
green glow right
somewhere.
now.
Where are they then?
Everywhere.
So in the sweat too. Like they're inside you. I guess they come out. Maybe they can
Yeah.
multiply in sweat. I
You're
can
right.
see.
You do have more germs on you because they're more in you.
I bet. Okay. I bet some germs enjoy like water.
Yeah, I bet.
Wouldn't
they
that
do.
make sense?
Yeah.
So in sweat
Yeah.
they thrive. Like
And
it's
so
probably
you've
the
been
salt
holding
too.
a water bottle today, so you're even germier.
Ooh, want to know about this water bottle? I think this might
Probably
be
not.
months old. It's been sitting in the car. I opened it.
Oh, not
It's been
in the
so
car,
hot.
Henry. You're gonna die of the plastic thing.
That's what I was gonna say. It tastes like plastic. It's crazy.
Oh my God! Don't drink it. Don't do it.
But is that germs?
That's like just chemicals. Yeah.
I was so
that's
thirsty
death.
though.
Yeah, but you know Broncos gave out free water bottles. Say free water bottles. How about that?
Eric took 2.
Wow. So you didn't get one?
Well, there was like, oh, this is the last one if anybody wants it. Also, Eric has 2, and I'm not sure which Eric, which is why I'm comfortable throwing out a name.
Oh, they
can
just threw him under the bus by saying a name.
Yeah, it's like they're one of the Erics.
Damn. I think Ryan Green also stole your water bottle too.
That bastard.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe that?
Oh,
he
you
just
spit in it.
Speaking of germs,
Oh, that's
There
gross.
you go.
See, but I would never drink that or put that on me because that'd be disgusting. I stay away from germs.
As
I
you
don't-
wear the same clothes 5 days in a row.
This is not true. I've worn this shirt no times since I've worn this sweatshirt once since I washed it. But it's a sweatshirt. Second layer, 2 days.
A lot of germs.
If it's
there.
a third layer, it's
what
3
about
days.
that hat?
I wear the hat a lot. But what do you want me to do? You want me to wash the hat?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
You
don't wear
I don't
hats.
wear hats. Yeah.
People do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the count probably knows. And
The
he
count,
says
yeah.
14 teams make the playoffs. You're basically saying
Facts.
Cars will be one of them.
Oh.
Pizza bet,
Oh.
anyone? I'll wager a good pizza. Hank, you can get Totino's Pizza Rolls trademark if you want. And a pitcher of oat sodas that the California Creep does not win a playoff game this season. Love the count.
Wow.
You want to take Derek Carr winning a playoff game this year?
I don't. I am curious what those odds are. Because again,
Oh, the count's getting
division's-
great odds.
Exactly, and that's why I'm not going to do it.
Derek
It's just
Carr's not winning a playoff game
it's
this year.
bad math to take that bet.
You know what? Because how about this, the count? If they make the playoffs, one of us will make that bet with you.
See, and that's where that bar needs to be set. 'Cause
Yeah.
I would guess
Because then it's a better line. It's probably more close to 50-50.
exactly. Because then you get in, and that's the thing. That's why if you could get tempted into taking that bet, it's because they only need to win one game, and they
Right.
might be favorites. I think they're pretty heavy favorites to come out of that division. Actually,
Yeah, so it'd be a home game.
exactly. So maybe you get a home game, and in that case, you're probably still playing a better team. I don't think they're very good, but
Yeah.
that could be a 50-50 game.
Yeah, yeah. I see your point, though, the count, but Carr's still a top 14 quarterback. Arvada Luke says, does Hank, here's more. Does Hank wear pajamas to the airport for a late flight? Answer the question.
Tough.
10 p.m. flight. What are you wearing?
Oh, I wear the same thing I'd always wear. Either sweats or shorts,
Okay.
and a t-shirt, and probably a sweatshirt,
So
which could come off if it's too warm.
Not fully
and
pajamas,
always a hat.
but not too far.
Am I ever far from pajamas?
That's a good point.
So,
That's a good
I mean-
point. I like that, though. I like your
Yeah.
style. I like that.
It's who I am.
Airplanes are disgusting. So pants and a
Mask
sweatshirt
on the
for
plane
me.
still?
No.
Okay,
No,
because I mean, the people who do it have a good point.
Well, do they though? That's supposed to be like the most purified air.
Well, so during COVID, when people are making sure that it's going to be super purified, I believe that it was as safe as they say.
I
Have
think
they
that's
let
just
that
how-
slip?
No, I think
because
that's just
they
how
filter
planes
it so
are.
much
That's
because
just
it goes
planes,
through.
though.
It might be.
I don't think that was a COVID thing. I think that was just how planes are always like that.
Huh.
Always super filtered air.
Interesting. I could believe that. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know.
Are you a mask on a plane?
I just
Yeah.
do my thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. He wants them all, sucking them all in.
Guess what happens when you're covered in germs? You never get sick because your body's used to it. Guess when the last time I
It's
got
not
sick
true.
was?
That is not true. Probably tonight. You're probably getting sick
Jinxed it.
tonight.
Yeah, that's
but
possible.
you can't because you have to be on the show tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Wow.
Or else I'm rolling solo. Arvada
You
Luke,
can't do that
another
to the
question
people.
for Hank maybe. How much of your $10 million in cap space would you give up for the chance of, quote, thunder and lightning combo like the good old days?
Wow.
So we're talking about Dalvin Cook. How
Yeah.
much would you pay him? What's the max?
Oh.
Let's do it this way. 1 year, $9 million for Dalvin.
See, here's the thing: is
No,
like
it wasn't an answer.
no.
Would you pay him $8 million?
No.
7.5.
Yes.
7.5.
But
There's-
here's the
there-
other
there it
thing:
is.
if they sign him for 11 million, I'm gonna sit here and be hyped about it. And I'm gonna be like, "Oh, this is awesome," and I'm really glad they did it. Was it a good decision? Probably not. Did I like it? Hell yes.
Right.
So that's the tough part for me.
And then how about this? If I'm Russ, I'd take a pay cut to beef up the running game. Let Russ have Cook.
I like it. Yeah. Also, the Saints minus 180 to make the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Favored to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they are favored to win their division.
The plus 115. Yep.
Watch out for the Charlotte team. The Panthers.
The Panthers,
Yep,
the Carolina
yep.
Panthers,
Bryce
the
Young,
Charlotte
baby.
team. Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah. Sounds
yeah.
like you really mean it.
that's a fair point.
Charlotte team.
I don't really think Russ would be willing to take a pay cut.
Oh, no,
to
there's no way in
boost
hell.
The running game.
And he should, like, nobody should take a pay cut. You just don't do it.
Yeah. And last one from Denver Rival says, hey guys, how about that Nuggets win last night? I was finally able to get a table and stay for an entire watch party, and it's insane when the energy of the bar felt better and seemed more energetic than the Miami crowd in Casia Arena or whatever they call it. What?
Casey Arena? I don't know what it's called.
What are we talking about?
Is it the name of the Miami Arena?
I see. Yeah, okay. I was very confused. I'm just here to laugh at Madden releasing Madden 25 for the 25th anniversary of the game itself. How do y'all feel about Dalvin Cook as an option for the Broncos or running back? Would you rather they went for a pass rusher if a solid one became available? Now let's hope for the Nuggets to win 2 more games so we can shift most of our focus to the Broncos. Sorry, Rockies. All of our attention to the Broncos, and on this show, it's always on the Broncos. Yeah, you know how I feel about the Broncos adding a pass rusher. You know how I feel about the Broncos adding Dalvin Cook. So I think you got both of those answered in detail there, Denver Rivals. Hank, tomorrow we've got another Broncos show on deck, and I got to tell you, we've got a great Broncos topic to talk about. I can guarantee you we're going to have some good questions to answer. And we have a draft that may be the spiciest draft that we've ever had. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much. Make sure to check out the DNVR tonight. Hank and I both going to be dropping pieces. And of course, stay tuned to the DNVR Broncos podcast tomorrow. Have a terrific Thursday.